My first internship served like three different purposes. I
Mm-hmm,
got
mm-hmm.
I got money, right? Financially, I got paid. Two, in order to graduate from my degree program, I had to have an internship, so I fulfilled that requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they gave me class credit, so it eliminated
Yeah.
an entire class from just taking a. If you remember, my senior year, I was going to take some Latin class, and you're like,
Yes.
learn about the French Revolution or something. So I was able to drop that because although I'm sure that's important to some people, it didn't have any merit or value for me.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm,
having that internship cross all three borders of
mm-hmm,
my life
mm-hmm.
at that time, that was just a blessing.
Welcome to another episode of the New College Mindset. I'm your host, Jerica. Do you want a paid internship near home that launches your career, but don't know where to start? Today, we welcome Chris Grady, who landed not one, but two paid internships right in his neighborhood and graduated from North Central College with two full-time job offers. Sound too good to be true? It's possible. Let's get started. Without further ado, let's welcome Chris to the show. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yes. So you can tell us a little bit about yourself, what you studied in college, and a favorite college memory that you might have.
Sure. Well, my name is Chris Grady. I am 23 years old, currently working for Baxter and Woodman as an engineering technician. I graduated last year on Mother's Day. So that was a very, yes.
That's
That
like
was a
the
very,
best
yeah,
gift to your mom.
right. What better gift could you ask for, right? Especially being first gen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
quite literally, it was a blessing and an honor to be able to dedicate that to my parents. But I studied environmental studies at North Central College in Naperville for 4 years, and my favorite college memory, I would probably say some of my experience being on a forensic speech and debate team. So that as a whole, but if I had to pinpoint what event, winning novice nationals in Santa Ana, California. So
Man, novice nationals. Like, I know a lot of our students don't know, but Chris has done forensics. I have done forensics. I tell everybody they need to go out there and practice because it gives you so many speaking skills. Novice nationals, congratulations. It's tough. And you
yeah,
and you did it. How did you
yeah.
feel when you won? Like, how did you feel?
I'm just asking that question. I got the goosebumps all over again when
Yes.
I saw my name. It was a surreal moment. I had just experienced a loss in the family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, man, this means so much right now. But it was all worth it in that moment. The stress of trying to figure out how to perform in that space, which was new for me.
Mm-hmm.
The time commitment, memorizing speeches, getting the blocking together. And I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
is a whole other world that I'm not used to. But, and that was my first year. I had never done speech before. So in my first year to be able to stand in front of hundreds of people on that stage and hear my name and hear that I won, that was a very surreal moment. And I'm thankful.
Yeah, and I guess I'm wondering, like, someone that's selecting a university,
Mhm.
what are some things that you wish like somebody would have told you about when you were trying to look for one? You know, like you're talking to you said your younger sibling right now.
Mhm.
Like, what are some things you're telling him as he's going about picking a school?
One of the things we're mentioning to him is don't be afraid of the community college route. When you start, no matter what, you're gonna have to take the gen eds, right? And so to be able to do that and be able to afford it, maybe at a community college and then transition out, that can work too. That can work. So I would stress to, a prospective college student, examine all your options. Don't be afraid to go to community school. It's
Mhm.
okay. You'll be where you need to be at year 4. So
Exactly. And a lot of, students that I've worked with, you do the 2 years and then you can parlay that into a full ride,
right.
because a lot of universities have these partnerships with these community colleges. Are you kind of helping him like visit different community colleges and talk to them, or how are you guys doing the whole approaching or learning about the community colleges?
Right now, it's just a conversation about the community college route.
Mhm.
My wife is helping kind of give him some insight into that because she's a product of that, a
Mhm.
successful. that as well.
Yeah, no, that I think that it's good to have, your wife is helping. It's good to
Mhm.
have somebody that's kind of walked through the process with you,
Absolutely.
because I feel like sometimes people do go to community college and they get a little bit lost in the sauce.
Yep.
And so you have to go in there with this like mindset, like, hey, I'm doing this for this set time for these classes, and then I'm moving. I'm going to get all that I can out of the community college. But if you're kind of going in there like, oh, I'm not sure, the possibility of you finishing and getting lost and all of that is higher. So I think what your wife is doing is super crucial. So he gets his full bachelor's degree.
That just struck a good nerve because we got to talk to these college counselors and coordinators that are going to be putting your schedule together. And you have to go to that meeting with your homework done saying, this is my plan. I want out of here at this time. I want to spend this amount of money. I'm not trying to stay here any longer. What classes do I need to take? Don't sugarcoat me. I've already looked at the website. Like I've done my part and I've come prepared to tell you this is my game plan. This is what I want to do. Especially if you're going to go to a community college route, you have to be prepared to know if what you're doing right now will transfer because they may not be on top of you saying,
Mhm.
hey, by the way, that class when you go to this university won't matter. You have to do that research. So I just want to interject and say that it is imperative. It's imperative to have a good college advisor.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, if you don't have one, being prepared for those meetings, knowing the questions that you need to ask, and also if one person isn't serving you, asking, hey, can I move to someone else? No disrespect, but like you're paying money here. This is your career. You can't get these days, these hours back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, is it possible that I can talk to somebody else? Which is exactly what you did. So kudos to you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how you heard about the importance of getting an internship, and what was that process like? What was your thought process like? Because we have a lot of students that are listening to this show, right? That here, you got to have an internship. You
Right.
got to have one. And it's just in your mind. But like, how did you get it from your mind to I'm going to do this? Like, walk us through that process, because I think that is so key in this area.
Well, for those who don't know, I've been mentioning a lot, through my answers and responses, the use of mentors and leaders. Jericho was, part of that group. So,
What?
yeah, yeah. So Jericho, an army of help. That's the short answer. An army of help from people that were older, mature. That's my personality is always looking for somebody that knows more than me so I can benefit right from that and go forward. But to get into the details of it, as you know, we decided to work backwards. So my first internship, the thought process was, how do I get in the door? And we found out that we had to basically work backwards or from the top down. And from the top, I mean, hierarchically from the leadership standpoint. So I was applying at the time for an internship in my village that I lived in, as a public service position, right? Working in public works in the water department. And so they don't have like just regular internship postings on their website. So if you just look in there, you'll be disappointed. But thankfully, we didn't stop there, and we found the contact. Right, we found most villages and cities have a page where they have to put who's running the city. Right, they got to put who's in charge, who's there, who's the village manager, who's X, Y, and Z. Right, and so those key personnel, the superintendent of public works, etc., the water superintendent, and we started reaching out to them. I started reaching out to them, sending emails, following up with phone calls, asking questions, and trying to build a relationship and a foundation to where they knew, even without meeting me, even without seeing me in person yet, that I was serious about getting in the door. I remember, and actually, it's so funny you asked me this, Jerica. I literally just saw yesterday one of the emails I sent them. Just randomly, I was looking for something else in my emails, and I found it. And I looked at what I sent them. I said, and to the prospective intern or college student, and you got to get this internship, and you're thinking, what do I say? You got to be willing to work for free. I said that in my email. I said, my name is Christopher Grady. I'm a graduating senior. I need real world experience, right? This is what I've learned school, attached as my resume, etc.
Mhm.
I'm willing to work for free. I'm not expecting no money from you. Just give me a t-shirt. Like, I'm willing to
Yes.
work for free. I'm here for the hours and the experience. That's it.
Mhm.
And I specified that to them. And if you remember, Jericho, we didn't hear back for a
Mhm.
while. I mean,
No.
they
Mhm.
were distant. It seemed like it was a ghost town.
Mhm.
Anybody
Mhm.
home, you know? But
Mhm. Mhm.
the key there is persistence. I stayed on them. I constantly reached out. I followed up, and I didn't give up. And finally, I was able to make contact electronically. Um, Actually, I think the water superintendent called me. Right, so this is the first time I talked to a real person. I'm like, woo!
Mhm. It's
And right,
happening.
right. So I didn't know then, but it did happen. I was able to get the internship.
Mhm.
Well, yes, I got the internship. But before that, I got the interview. That's
Uh-huh.
what
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
the interview was like a big win. Like, wow, okay, now we have an opportunity to sell myself to them.
Mhm.
And I remember going
Mhm.
in there, I was confident that, I had already kind of told them who I was online, and now I just got to show them my personality. So
Mhm.
with probably like 6 or 7 of them, all the big wigs of the town. And I just gave them my story. I said, I go to this school. I live here. I want to do
Mhm.
this type of work. You guys do that work, and I'm willing to work for free. So what's up? What's next? Where do I sign? So
Exactly.
not like that, but I'm
Yeah,
paraphrasing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yes.
I was
And
just
more
myself,
professional, of course. We said it more professionally.
more professional. I'm just being myself right now, but I
Yes,
said it
yes,
more
yes, yes.
professional. But it worked out. I actually
Mhm.
walked out of there with the internship. So I remember
Man.
crying. I was, excited, calling people like, "Woo, we did
Yes.
it!" So yeah, that's the whole first internship application, interview, and getting my foot in the door process.
Now, I feel like you need to tell the listeners though, right? It moved from free to what?
It was not free, right? So I offered free, but it was a paid internship. Yeah, it was
Exactly.
a paid internship. Yeah,
I remember having conversations with you about like, hey, you are in this career, you're studying this at school, but then you look at your resume and it has nothing to
right,
do with what you're trying to do. You have to get something that relates to what you're actually studying.
right.
So if you're studying to be an environmental engineer and then you are over here in your case it was like working at a hospital, it was doing things that weren't
Yeah,
like super related. It's like,
right.
okay, people can make that jump, but it's going to be harder versus if you found something that's actually, you have a passion for water. Let's
Yeah,
see now if you're interested in it. Let's go and research that and then actually get an internship in that. And what I
mhm.
think is really awesome with a local internship, right, is that flexibility. Because I remember you had an offer. I think you were trying to go out of state. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yes.
And I was like, wait, like when you counted the cost, the money, the this, the that, the time, and the beauty of the local internship, and this is why I tell students, you gotta look local because you save so much money. You
Right.
know, Chris, you had the opportunity. You could have done it for free
Mhm,
because you were local.
mhm.
You had other things set up to help, be that safety net.
Right.
But I think a lot of students are thinking you got to go far, but there's so many opportunities
Mm.
locally. So, how did you enjoy that internship? Like, what were some aha moments with that while you were there?
The aha moment was being in the water treatment plant and knowing that what I was doing and how I was being taught and trained and what the full-time, licensed water operators were doing, I was able to see the real system. Like, I was able to
Mhm.
see the real behind the scenes process of what I was passionate about, or like you mentioned, what I thought I was passionate about, but hadn't really had experience with,
Mhm.
was the world of water. So I was able to see them, taking water samples, treating the water,
Mhm.
deciding, how to operate the pumps to get enough pressure to the whole village. And
Mhm.
that in itself was like, aha, this is what happens with water. This is how
Yes.
I turn my faucet on. This is how it gets here. And I know what's in the water, So
Mhm.
for me, the entire experience was an aha moment. It confirmed, because an internship, as you alluded to, it's either going to confirm or deny, I guess, what you
Mhm.
think you're interested in, right? So for me, it did confirm that I am passionate about water. I do want to do
Mhm.
this. And I still hadn't yet decided if it was doing it from a public service position or privately, which now I'm working privately, but at least I had something to hold on to, something tangible,
Mhm.
something real
Mhm.
outside of, classes that didn't really touch water, but were about water. I
Mhm.
had something real to hold on to and say, okay, I have this experience now. I know what this career would look like. The internship didn't stop anything. It propelled me. It pushed me
Mhm.
forward. It was not a
Mhm.
hindrance. It took my time out of my schedule, but that was for a reason, right? I had to show hours that I can prove to my school that I completed an internship,
Mhm.
and I got class credit for it, right?
Mhm.
My first internship served like three different purposes. I
Mhm.
got
Mhm.
I got money, right? Financially, I got paid. Two, in order to graduate from my degree program, I had to have an internship. So I fulfilled that requirement.
Mhm.
And on top of that, they gave me class credit. So it eliminated
Yep.
an entire class from just taking if you remember my senior year, I was going to take some Latin class. And you're like,
Yes.
learn about the French Revolution or something. So I was able to drop that because although I'm sure that's important to some people, it didn't have any merit or value for me.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
having that internship cross all three borders of my
Mhm.
life
Mhm.
at that time, that was just a blessing.
Yes. No, super powerful. I mean, I feel like you're a walking testament to that because like you did it. It was like layers on layers on layers. And I think students need to understand they have to be their own advocate. Like,
Yes.
does this make sense for you? Now
Right.
let's figure out how to make it make sense for these other institutions that you need to align with what you need to do. Don't
Right.
just take no for an answer or it's never been done before. I think like for your internship, they had never had an intern, right?
Oh,
Or at that
that too.
location.
Yeah, I mean, there was two moments of this has never been done before. The internship itself, me as an intern at the village, never had one, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they've had like part time or seasonal workers, but never a college student saying, "I'm here to work for free if I have to. I'm trying to get some
Mm-hmm.
experience." And then with my school, they had never crossed all three layers of, you're getting paid, it's covering your program and a class. So yeah,
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and that worked out so well, and so, like, if you're a first or second gen, you're listening and you're just like, "Man, like, I really can't swing this out-of-state internship or this DC internship or this Cali internship." What's around the corner? What
right.
is literally around the corner that you can make work? And maybe, like Chris is saying, they don't have a website or the website is old and janky. Call them up,
Yeah.
go to the place, dress professionally and say, hey, can you help me? I'm looking to do this. And because it's local, you can do some free stuff if it really pertains to your career. And can you talk a little bit about class selection? Because I remember we had a deep convo on this Latin versus GIS
Yeah.
and
Oh,
all of that.
it's so crazy. I just got goosebumps when you said GIS because I'm seeing now why that conversation, why all those, the brainstorming efforts to figure out the right game plan was worth it because I
Mhm.
use GIS every day on my child now, every single day. I mean, it literally was what I needed.
Mhm.
It literally was what I needed. So for those who don't know, right, the listeners,
Mhm.
kind of mentioned it already. I had some random Latin class to fill my schedule because truthfully, I could have graduated early. I had like enough credits, and this goes back to the advisor conversation of just, maybe not getting all the right information or whatever the case is. But um, my opportunity to graduate early had already passed. So at this point, I'm
Mhm.
locked and I'm here now. I've already taken the mandatory classes because I did a lot of double dipping and whatnot, but I
Mhm.
had reached that credit limit. So I still had to take some filler classes. And
Mhm.
Jerica and I, we had some conversations. Okay, what's going to be the most beneficial? Like, this is the direction you're wanting to go in the world of water, and is there anything technical, right? Any technical training,
Mhm.
something that you can say, I have a real skill in doing this.
Mhm.
And I couldn't really answer that question at the time. Like, well, I'm an intellectual thinker. I'm a
Water's nice. I drink it every day.
guy, I can talk to you real well. I can put on my professional person. But that gets you only so far. That gets
Mm-hmm.
you only so
Mm-hmm.
far. There is value to that. I'm not undermining that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
at some point you have to have a competitive edge and a professional edge. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, that was taking a GIS class. So I omitted from my schedule. I took away the Latin class, and I took. It was the first year they offered it too. Everything just worked out so perfectly. The first year they offered it, and the class was called Introduction to GIS.
Like, just because it's on the paper doesn't mean you have to take it. Ask the question,
Right.
why? Why is this crucial? Is this a required course? And if not, see if you can find something that has a technical skill. That's one of the really key things that, we're hammering down to our first and second gen students in the new college mindset. It's like, hey, you got to walk out of college with some technical skills. It can't just be theory. You can't just
Right.
be like, hey, I think very deeply on this topic. No, do you know C++? Do you know GIS? Do you know this? Do you know what is the tech for your field, for mass communications or, communications or writing or this or that? Do you have that skill set? And if you
Right.
don't, you need to figure out a way to learn it so that you can put it on your resume and you can level up in your ability to land a job. And so, yeah, like you're proof of that. Okay, so we've already heard like so much and all of these ups and downs and the first of this, the first of that, your first gen, first.
Yeah.
Then it moves to it's time to graduate and get a
Ooh.
job. So talk
Yes.
to us about that and how the internships and what happened with all of that. And I know you talked to a couple of people and got
Sure.
connected to other things.
So what I'll mention here that kind of propelled everything from, like you said, all the firsts had happened, right? We getting through the growing
Mm-hmm.
pains, and now the clock is ticking. Graduation is coming. Mother's Day, May 8th is soon approaching. What's happening May 9th, right? So I started having informational interviews
Mm-hmm.
with people in the industry, people that were beyond my years in both wisdom and their career, that could speak to what I would be doing in their position if I went that route. And thankfully, I talked to a handful of people that took the time out of their work schedules, right,
Mm-hmm.
to communicate that to me. So I took my notes, I kept names, I kept records, and compared and prayed on it, and just really was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And I remember one of those informational interviews. Several of them were with engineers. So for the audience that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
my transition basically went from I had this great opportunity and great experience and a job offered to me from being a public service worker intern in the water department. So that was all.
Just pause that right there. You had a job, a full job offer pre-graduation from
Yes,
this internship that parlayed into a job. Okay, you can continue. I just want to make sure everybody understood
yes,
that.
yes, yes. We can put some emphasis on that. I already had one. And then there was another. I took that experience. I enjoyed it, but I knew I wasn't quite ready to settle on it yet. I wanted to know what else is
Mhm.
out there. And thankfully, this is why it's important to build good relationships. I had built a good enough relationship with my managers there that they were okay with me leaving, right, temporarily, with the idea of me maybe coming back to go do something else. So I just open and honest with them, like I like my time here, but I also have another opportunity to go see the private side of what we're doing. And for
Mhm.
those who don't know, I'm just saying like public sector versus private sector. I applied for a second internship with my company now, and it was a bit more technical, right? And this is when we had to get really creative. And I was intimidated, honestly, because I'm like, oh no, now we getting into the world of engineering, and these are people that know their stuff,
Mhm.
And here I am. I only had 2/3 of a year, my first year of engineering experience when I was a
Mhm.
mechanical engineer major until I switched to environmental studies. So I hadn't stuck with it long enough to confidently say, I know all of these engineering concepts, yada, yada, yada. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, I was able to take my experience with Montgomery and dial that into my resume on top of my coursework to really paint the picture of, and it wasn't a facade, it was true of what I had
Mhm.
accomplished, what I had studied,
Mhm.
and like you said, the real world technical skills. And so, graduation, I was able to do my internship with my current company, learning a little bit about the private side of water, right? There's two sides of it, I
Mhm.
guess you could say. And I really liked it. And I was torn. I'm like, oh man, now I got to make a decision. And basically, what ended up being my determining factor, I just saw more, there was opportunity for growth on both sides. But it seemed that with my current position now, there was a faster route um,
Mhm.
and maybe more opportunities, versus kind of working in the public sector. You'll be waiting your turn for a while if you
Mhm.
want to grow,
Mhm.
if you want to get into leadership. And I felt
Mhm.
that was my call to be somebody that, you know, I know how to be the pawn, right? I know how to,
Mhm. Mhm.
be the
Mhm.
foot soldier in the field learning, but also know
Mhm. Mhm.
or to lead, right? And to get into.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I took that route with my current company, and they also offered me the position, and I had to choose. And I chose to stick with them. And I tell you what, I graduated on May 8th. I worked from February to May with this second internship. Um,
Mhm.
and I graduated May 8th. They gave me the option of when I wanted to start. And looking back now, it was crazy that I did this, but I started the next day. I started May 9th full time. I went from intern to full time from
Mhm.
Friday, my last day, Friday, before graduation, that Monday, I was full time. So
I mean, congrats to you. Kudos to you because you put in so
thank
much work on navigating, doing those interviews, informational interviews, putting yourself out there,
you. Right.
talking to the right people, coming back and running it by mentors and saying, "Hey,
Yep.
does this make sense? How do I finagle this and all that stuff?" Because the stats show
Mm.
70% of interns land are offered full-time positions. 80% of those interns take it. So if
Yeah.
you're a first or second gen student and you're wondering like how do I graduate with a job? You need to intern. Not
Yep.
one time, not two times, as many times as you can from the first moment you step into your college career
Yep.
because it's going to expand your networks. It's going to help you reach on those, be able to do the informational interviews with people, be able to think about, hey, do I like this? Do I not like this? Try
Right.
out new things. And so Chris is a perfect example of that, of getting out there and having walking across the stage already employed in the field he wanted to get into. I wanted to also ask you, um, what advice outside of the internship
Hmm.
would you say would be helpful for students to graduate employed?
Outside of the internships, and maybe this is like, I don't know, maybe this is a basic answer, but the relationships that you build from day one. Um,
Mhm.
because one of the informational interviews I had with my current employer was a manager that works there
Mm.
in the department that I'm in now.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was only able to interview him, and by for those who don't know, by informational interview, I mean calling him or calling these people that I had these
Mhm.
sessions
Mhm.
with,
Mhm.
and just taking a few moments of their time. I'm interviewing them. I had the questions. I had my list of questions.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you do? What's your position? How much
Mhm.
you make,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
I expect as a first year in this role, et cetera, right? So that's what that looks like. But the reason that information interview was set up was because of the first gen program coordinator that I met
Mhm.
year and I was a part of this first gen program all 4 years.
Mhm.
A wonderful woman who has a heart for helping first gen students, just
Yes.
like Erica, and set
Yes.
this up. This manager now, right, that I'm working with, was like a family friend of hers, and so
Wow.
connect me and put in a good word and say, I got
Mhm.
a student who's really great, bright young man.
Mhm.
He would like to
Mhm.
talk with you. It was like as soon as she sent that request, he was able to meet with me, and he
Man.
kept it straight. He told me everything I needed to know, and I really believe, I truly believe, Jerica, outside
Mhm.
of because I hadn't had the internship yet, so this is before
Yep.
working with them.
Mhm.
However,
Mhm. Mhm.
my first internship is past now. I hadn't
Mhm.
gotten to the second one yet, but I believe
Mhm.
I really got my foot in the door because that connection, right? My first year
Yes.
during this program, I developed
Mhm.
onto the events that they have set up. I'm showing consistency. I'm showing that I'm open to receiving. And
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
relationship built year after year with the coordinator. She would invite me to other events that maybe other people didn't get to go to, right?
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Made all of that throughout those 4 years mattered just for this moment to be able to connect
Mhm.
the person she knew in her network to my network,
Yes.
get them on the phone, ask all the questions. And that way, when I had the real interview with that
Mhm.
person and their team, I
Mhm.
know now. He knows me. He's already got a
Yes.
good feeling about me.
Yes.
The answer to your question, I think it's a cliche answer. We hear it all the time, but we don't put enough. I don't think college students understand the real value of it.
Mhm.
All the time, get involved, get involved, get involved. What's the purpose of getting involved? It's not
Mhm.
just so you can have great memories with your peers. That's a good thing.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
also, what are you getting involved with? A team or a club? Somebody's the head of that club. You don't know who they work for or
Mhm.
who's in their circle that will get
Mhm.
you where you
Mhm.
need to be. The coordinator, I mean, she's the top dog of this
Yep.
program that gave me a scholarship year after year, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Was already a benefit from me. She didn't have to do nothing
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Good relationship. She knew my work ethic. I was not playing
Mhm.
around. I meant business. She said, Chris,
Mhm.
I can make this happen for you. I can connect you to
Yeah.
so and so. And trust me, if you make this connection, you're good. I was good,
Yes.
you know? So
Yes. Yes.
that's
Yes.
hey, relationships. That's my answer. Relationships.
Yes, no, that is so true because you just don't know. And
You
a lot of times, like you said, you just kind of focus on those around you, but there's a bigger thing happening. Are you talking to the leaders? Are you talking maybe to the national chapters of head of the small chapter that you're a part of? Are you going to those conferences? Are you having those conversations and not just saying, okay, if they don't come to me, then I can't go to them. Like, no, like there's so much out there to help you. You just got to be willing to make yourself available, and kind of knowing what your ask is. I think that's important. Like, what are you specifically asking for? And it can't just be like, well, water. Like, no, I'm looking for someone who does this type of water in this location. Do you know anybody? And they can help you based on your question being more specific. So you have given us a wealth of information. You have shared your story. It's been super awesome to hear it and just be like, you know what? Like, I hope students are like, hey, he did it. I can do it too.
yeah.
Um, he went out there and just made himself available and didn't just sit in the background and went out and tried to do something. And it resulted in a really great career that you're in right now. And so, the other question I have is advice that you would give to a first or second gen student that's trying to graduate in a better financial position than they are now. So, a first or second gen student trying to graduate in a better financial position than they are now. Do you have any advice on that? Things that you've seen that you wish people had talked to you about?
Yeah, finances is something that I don't think a lot of college students pay attention to until they graduate, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So my first answer is start thinking about it right away. I know there's a lot of moving parts to college, and you're excited, you're there, you show up on campus, woohoo, right? You're doing the thing,
Mhm.
but there's a very real dollar bill waiting at the end of that, right? Like there's a real world, of money that things are just not free, So having this financial mindset of I want to graduate with the least amount of debt as possible.
Mhm.
I think that should be the focus. And then the game plan to get there is increasing your opportunity and availability for scholarships, right? Increasing your financial aid package
Mhm.
paired with what money you're bringing in outside of school, and then also money that you're going to inherit, right, or gain from whatever position that you're going to walk into. And although you don't have it right necessarily in your account, you can already strategize. Okay, I might not have graduated with all my debt covered, but this is the amount I have left. Be conscious
Mhm.
of the amount that you have left. Believe it or not, Jerica, I know students that don't know how much student loans they have. So
Mhm.
in itself is a nightmare. I met a guy and he didn't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? They,
Yep.
they could have hit you over the head with six figures of debt and you don't know.
Mhm.
You just
Mhm.
do it and just was like, okay, no, be
Mhm.
conscious of when I graduate, this is how much I will owe this institution. You should,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're going to develop that game plan. You're going to try to get that number down as low as possible before you get out.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's not zero, when you leave, you're going to say, okay, this is how much I'm taking out of here with this
Mm-hmm.
career that I'm walking into. I'm going to budget religiously and
Mm-hmm.
with my money to live below my means coming out of school, not just go lavish
Mm-hmm.
away and knock out that debt. That
Mm-hmm.
was success financially.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say, Jericho.
That is important because a lot of people don't know. I mean, I tell college students, have you called the financial aid office? When's the last time you called your provider of the money that you're receiving and asked them what is the interest rate?
Right,
Or do you have subsidized or unsubsidized loans?
right.
What type of loans do you have? Do you know the difference? And it can seem really daunting, but hopefully this is an encouragement for students to to go out there, pick up the phone, and check and see what exactly they are in, so that they can make a game plan and be able to graduate either fully debt free or very close to it, so that when they walk across that stage with a job,
Yep.
right, on the next day, they are good to go. And that is definitely my heart and my passion, wanting people to be out there. And so, Chris, it's been so good talking to you and
Oh,
hearing your story and laughing and just thinking back on how things turned out. And I don't know, do you have any other advice that you would give to a first or second gen student that is in the middle of all of this, that's trying to figure out up from down? Any other advice that we didn't get a chance to discuss today on the show?
I think I want to thank you for this opportunity first. This has been a pleasure being on here. I have a heart to help people as well. So
Yes.
I hope if nothing else, the students take away this point, just to sum it up. College is a time where a lot of people want to experience right life, and you're in this young phase and you're figuring yourself out. I think there's value to that, but at some point, the light switch has to go off. You got to flip that switch of putting it into gear and saying we're driving forward, because a lot of people stay in that mindset and they may graduate college, but they're still there mentally. And so you can see that progress in their lives. And I'm just going to say it's better to get ahead of that, to get ahead of that curve. And so for me, all of my fun and having that college experience, I had that in the first year to 2.5 years. And it was fun. It was great. But then I quickly realized, okay, I've had my fun. This is nice, but I'm not here just to have fun. I'm not here just to have a good time. I got to graduate with a job. That's my goal. And in order to get there, I got to start cutting some things away. So one by one, I started to retract myself from different groups and activities I was involved in, because you don't need to be in it for all 4 years to put it on your resume. I already built the experience, right? I don't need to be president of the Black Student Association all 4 years. They see that I was a leader, huh? So be able to leverage your time. Be able to leverage your time. And so I started to pull away. I was the president of X, Y, and Z, but not all at the same time. When I got what I needed from this group, okay, thank you. It was a pleasure. Moving on. Got what I needed from this group, okay, thank you. It was a pleasure. You built those relationships, you built those connections, but at some point, and for me, it was getting into my junior year, I was really only focused on my classes, my coursework, and the things that I was involved in were paying me, right? It was scholarship stuff. I was running track, but track wasn't giving me any money. So I left. I stuck with all, basically through the end, because I was continuing to, it was benefiting me financially. And it's not just about money. But my point is, Jerica, I hope, if nothing else, the students take away, you have to leverage your time. It's an exciting time, but it's also not a time to just play. You gotta have a game plan. You gotta flip that switch at some point and say, okay, it's been cool, y'all, but I gotta go somewhere. I'm trying to get to B. I'm trying to make this count. And that was my mindset, and I accomplished it. My goal was to graduate. Walking across that stage, I prayed and I stuck to this. Like, I want to walk across that stage having my job in hand. I didn't know my job was going to start the next day, but I didn't. I did it. And I didn't do it alone. I did it with Jerica,
Yes. Yes.
and help from the Lord. But I did it.
Yes.
You can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. You can do it too. So
Yes, yes. No, get out there and have a game plan. And here
mm,
at the New College Mindset, that's all we are about. We're about helping that first and second gen student graduate employed and financially free. So, how you can win while you're in college, we're giving out college advice. And Chris has been, as I said many times, it's been great to have you on the show. And maybe in the future we have you back. You know, we just never know how this platform is going to increase and all that stuff. But
yeah.
really, really a pleasure. And keep on winning, keep on being successful. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
later.
All right. Take care.
Bye.